Hello, welcome to Aging Well in America. Every day, 10,000 people in the United States turn 65. Today, 5.5 million people are aged 85 or older. By the year 2050, that number grows to 20. 20 million people will be aged 85 or older. Are we ready? Is America ready? There's so much good work going on around the country, around the world, and right here in our own community. And you can hear the beautiful music in the background. And we have one of those people with us today. Her name is Pamela Buchowski, a music therapist with Great Lakes Caring.
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You were singing a beautiful song earlier. I'd like to hear a little more of it.
You got it. Though April showers may come your way, they bring the flowers that bloom in May. So if it's raining, have no regrets, because it isn't raining rain, you know, it's raining violets.
Oh, how beautiful. So I'm just sitting here thinking, and I want to ask my listeners and viewers, if you have a parent or a grandparent who is suffering from some sort of dementia or even a disease that is making their aging process difficult, and you had Pamela sitting in front of her or him for a couple hours a week, how do you think that might help? Because that's exactly what Pamela does. Tell us about yourself and your beautiful, beautiful gift and what you do to help our aging population.
Well, I am a board-certified music therapist. I work for Great Lakes Caring. I work in the hospice area of that. I got my degree in music therapy from Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. And I've worked in oncology with mm-hmm. adults and with children mm-hmm. with cancer. And then I slowly moved into working with hospice patients almost 8 years ago.
Okay, so you're specifically working with those that are at end of life.
I am, yes.
Okay.
But music therapy is very broad.
Yes, it
is.
And
we work with so many populations, and I think as music therapists go to school, they kind of find their niche, what works with them. So we have music therapists that work with children with mm-hmm. developmental delays, those with autism. Mm-hmm. We have those that work in the neonatal intensive care units mm-hmm.
with
in psychiatric settings.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there's a music therapist in correctional facilities here mm-hmm. in Michigan and across the country. Mm-hmm. Just in regular hospitals, in nursing homes, and all the way up through hospice. So it's really from birth until death.
It is,
because music is a part of our lives. I mean, our heartbeat is a rhythm.
Right.
And so we very much have opportunity to have music in our life from birth all the way to death, and it's important for us.
Yeah. You were telling us earlier about when you go into a setting, whether it's a facility or someone's home, mm-hmm. and they're very agitated, mm-hmm. How do you handle that and why? Because your answer was different than what I would have expected.
It is. We are taught different techniques that we use to help with decreasing anxiety, agitation. Sometimes there's something called terminal restlessness that some people get at the end of life. And when you think music, you think, oh, I want something calm and soothing. But emotionally, they may not be ready to hear that. If you have a bad day, you get in your car and you go, oh, I'm having a bad day, I need some music. And so you flip through the radio station and nothing on there, you put your favorite CD on, nothing is working for you. It's because emotionally, your favorite music is not where you are emotionally. That's happy music. You need something to make you know that you're being listened to. So I go in.
Something to almost validate what you're feeling.
Yes.
Okay.
So I go in and play music at a higher tempo, at a higher volume that says to a person, hey, I'm here for you. And from there, I can then lower the tempo, lower the volume, play something that's a
Can
little
you give
more
us an
calm.
example?
Let's see.
I'll be your guinea pig.
Yeah. Well, if you are something agitated, I may start with something, it doesn't even necessarily have to be that it sounds sad or angry. It can just be an up-tempo something to catch your attention. So I may even raise the tempo of something like, Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer due. And from that song, I may then go to something a little more quiet, like, and I usually don't stop in between. I'll go from song to song to song without any breaks.
Okay.
So perhaps then, in the shade of the old apple tree, it's a little bit more quiet, to then maybe, let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. You can also take the same song and just play one song. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. Let me hear you whisper, and play it as they need it to be played. And so it's very individualized. Each person's music is going to be different. I always go in and play music that is going to be beneficial for them, not the music I want to hear.
Sure.
It may be a song I really don't like, but it's not about me. It's about them. So I'm always learning new songs, and as our population ages, the songs change as well. So our residents and our clients and patients that are in their 80s and 90s right now are playing music from the 30s and 40s. And as we age and have patients in our 60s, we're playing classic rock and we're playing the Beatles. And just imagine what we're going to be playing when I get to be old enough. Because music that's the most influential in a person's life is from when they are in their 20s.
Boy, I'm having a real hard time imagining what we're listening today. I mean, my college-age daughters with rap. How would you do? Can you do something with rap? Just
and right now, even with the kids, you know, that's what they respond to.
Right.
So you may change.
Some
the
Eminem,
music to it. You may change the lyrics to it to meet them. There's a great song out right now that talks about rhythm, and it talks. I've got this old guitar, and it's rusty, and it has I've got the shakers, and I can just imagine right now music therapists around the country working with this song, having their guitar, having their little ones with the shakers and playing this rhythm song. And so you have to go with what works
with
with what population you're working with.
It's fascinating. Get academic a little bit for us, if you wouldn't mind, Pamela. You were explaining why this works, how the brain is reacting to music, where it may not with anything else, including meds.
Yes. Well, music is found in the whole brain. So the nice part about that is that it's non-threatening. Everyone kind of likes music. And so you can do a lot without really realizing that the person doesn't always necessarily know you have an agenda. As a music therapist, sometimes I go in and, people think, oh, she's just playing her guitar and singing. I always have an agenda. I always have goals that I'm working on. Does the patient always know what exactly those goals are? No. And that's okay because they just know that they're feeling better, that they're smiling, that they're able to sing with me. So for someone with dementia, without any of the types of dementia, they're found in certain parts of the brain, whether it's frontal temporal, whether it's Alzheimer's, whether it's Lewy body.
Right.
And so those are in certain areas of the brain where music is found in the whole brain. So when those when the brain starts to kind of have pieces missing, which is what happens, music finds new pathways and connections. So someone that can no longer speak can still sing. Someone that really just sits there, is not able to dress themselves, can clap their hands, can hold my hand and move to the rhythm of the song, because the music reminds them, and It's the music from when they were in their 20s that is going to be the most influential in their life, and that they're going to remember. Songs that they would dance to at their wedding, songs that they would sing with their parents, or that they would sing to their children. Any lullabies, Christmas songs, Amazing Grace. If people spent a lot of time in church, those old hymns will be very helpful for them.
Fascinating.
So, and when you go in there, you most of the time use live music, and so you can connect these pathways in the brain.
Right.
And I think I always like the medical side of music therapy because I can see that change. I can see someone's pain at a 9 out of a 10 go down to a 0 with just music.
Right.
Meeting the person where they're at, validating them through music.
Right.
And then
leaving them in a better place than when you arrived. You've got some great looking, interesting props here, and I'm really eager to hear what they're all about and hear what they sound like.
Yes, so we use different things. Guitar, I would think, is probably, for me, what I use the most.
Okay.
I play the piano as well. It's harder to carry a piano with you.
Do you take a keyboard, or do you play what's there? Okay.
I have one if I know I'm going to use it.
Okay.
Some of the facilities we go to have a piano, and if it's appropriate for me to bring the patient to the piano, then I do that. But sometimes it's best in their room. Sometimes it's best in an open area if they need extra socialization. So it depends on what the goals are for the patient.
Okay.
But I try and get the person as involved as possible. For some people, that's eye contact. That's all they can do. For some people, it's singing. For some, it's playing an instrument.
Okay.
So I give them simple things, okay? So shakers, things they're easy to hold because, their hands are contracted sometimes, or they don't have a very strong grip. These are lightweight, and they're easy to play. Just the littlest movement makes it happen. Same with the bells. Especially around Christmas time, I will bring out the bells.
Right.
So, and these are other egg shakers.
Nice.
For a little bit more, someone who has more movement, you can use other hand percussions like a frog.
Oh, fun.
Just for something. And then, something like this tamboa. Go ahead. It's very calming, but it's a pentatonic scale. So it doesn't matter what note they play, it sounds good with the next note, which is very important because there are so many people that say, oh, I can't do music. But music is in us. And, I've led so many drum circles where everyone around the room has a big drum, and it just creates this wonderful
This is
sound.
cool.
Now, something like this, these are lightweight mallets.
They're rubber?
They're rubber. They're like rubber balls, actually.
Yeah.
You can hand this to someone, and they can just... It builds their confidence. It kind of breaks them out of their shell. This is my ocean drum, and everyone seems to love this the best. They come in 3 sizes. I like the one with the fish on it because it looks nice. But it's called an ocean drum because it kind of sounds like the ocean. There's little ball bearings in the bottom of it. This is a really nice thing to give to families when we are sitting at the bedside at the end of life and they just want to do something. They feel helpless, right? They're kind of waiting. It's that waiting game sometimes, and they just want to participate. And I go in with my guitar and I sing and they cry, and I have a habit of doing that. I always have a disclosure. I have a gift of helping people to cry, and I do think of it as a gift because a lot of times people need to cry in a time like that. But I also will sometimes hand them my ocean drum, and it's very relaxing. So the ball bearings move around. And it kind of sounds like waves. Now you can always tell how a person is feeling by how their waves are. So if they're really, you can tell they're a little stressed out. But for someone who's calm, it's just nice to watch. It helps them to focus. And then you can kind of play it like a drum too if you want. But for someone who's a lot of stress, just looking at that, watching the beads go around, listening to that calm, sometimes we just have that and no music. That is music.
Oh, it's
And it's very
fabulous. So you
calming
would
for
give
them.
this to the family members that are sitting around. Oh my goodness.
And they can participate. They're a part of this. They're a part of their end-of-life journey for their loved one. And it helps them to feel like they're doing doing something.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my
Very
goodness,
much. So-
it's just magical. Having been through this with my my dad, when he passed, the room was full. There's he had 10 children. I have 9 siblings. We were all there, plus our children.
Yes. Yeah.
And our hospice nurse, and we did have music therapy earlier in his before he got to this end stage. But I'm just thinking, oh my goodness, if we, because what we kept saying to him his last day and a half was, "It's okay, Dad, you can go," you know.
Yeah.
But oh my goodness, this would
And
have
I have
helped.
so many songs in my back pocket that are about letting go, about going to heaven and being with your mother and your father,
Right.
and you know, watching an angel being born, and having music in there allows people to really start to process.
Right, and he was such a. In fact, he had, and we did play his big band songs because he was. He always put his big band music on. And
Yes.
he had a favorite song. I've heard that song before. Do you know that one?
No, I don't. I have to learn it.
Seems to me I've heard that song before. Do you know that one?
Oh, okay. There's one from my book. Write it down.
It's wonderful. And he always, he said he remembers when he heard it. He was in the Army. It was
Yes,
at the beginning
he
of
has
the
a
war.
memory attached to that song. How many of us have memories attached to
yeah.
song, and that's why it's so
Yeah.
important. And I mean, it's not always crying at the end of life around the bedside. There are so many times where I've sung "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" because the patient was a huge baseball fan and never missed a game on TV, and we would sing it. There are times when I sing you know, the happiest of happy songs because it's, and I make the family smile because end of life is something we don't get past. We all have to go through it. We all have to journey, and we want to be able to process that and make it the best that it can be, because we don't get a second chance at end of life. It's the only time we get to do it.
The way I remember describing it to friends and family was, it's big. It was as big of an event as giving birth to my daughters.
Yes.
Because truly it is one of those life milestones, right?
Yes, yes.
And it's so different, however, because at the end of it, you're left without.
You are. But you're left with memories.
But you're left with wonderful memories and experiences and a life that you wouldn't have had you not had that person.
And so many times, you know, life is not always what we want it to be or we think. And we have, you know, families that maybe have struggled with things. They're not as close as they would have hoped to be. Maybe there's some separation. Maybe the family lives out of state. And people can come in, and I have seen firsthand music bring families together at the end of life. I remember an instant where I went in to see a lady. She was unresponsive. She was what we call actively dying. Her 3 daughters were in the room, and they did not get along. And I started to sing, and as the session went on, they started requesting songs. They began getting closer together. And by the end of the visit, they were hugging and singing to their mother.
How wonderful.
And I was lucky enough to sing at their funeral, and the one daughter who was estranged got up and said, "I know that I wasn't always the best daughter and sister, but I always loved my mother, and I love you, and I'm, you know, glad that we are here together, and I want to mend our relationship." And I felt like the music was a big part of that healing.
Sure.
And I've seen it time and time again.
Yeah, that's so wonderful.
And there have been so many times where I have been privileged enough to sing while someone has taken their last breath, and it's nothing that you can even describe, and I wouldn't change it, and always happens to be during the most beautiful song about passing. And, you know, the family would be holding their hand. I mean, what a gift that is, to know that they are leaving this world and to go on to the next, and they're leaving with music.
Yeah, absolutely. It's chilling. It's so beautiful. You've got a wonderful story yourself, Pamela, and I'd love you to share that. How you said you were a singer since you can remember.
Oh, yes.
Since you were probably very, very young, and then studied it formally. But your own experience as a teenager really set your focus.
It did. I always knew I wanted to do music. I really didn't know what music therapy was, but when I was a teenager, my dad became sick. He got cancer, and unknowingly, I was his music therapist without even knowing, because he would always sit in his recliner right next to my piano, and I would play for him every night and help him relax and be calm. And I helped him through many, many things. And as he was dying, and we were all there, my sisters, my mom, were all there around the bed, I sang to him one last song, and it was very, very powerful. And then music helped me afterwards because, and I didn't share this with you before, but as a teenager, you know, you love listening to music, and I tried to find the most depressing songs and sad songs that I could, so that I could sing them, and I would sing them in my bedroom at the top of my lungs, and they would be so healing and cleansing for me. And it really helped me to heal. The music helped me personally. And so when I went on and finished high school and went on to college, I knew I was going to do music. And they had a music therapy program, and I took the introduction to music therapy. And after 2 weeks, I said, this is it. This is my job. This is what I was meant to do.
Isn't that something? And those songs that you sang, those depressing, sad songs, validated your feelings,
yes, they did.
And that's what you were talking about
yes,
earlier.
They met me emotionally where I was at, so that then I could move forward and heal.
Yeah.
And you never heal from the death of a loved one, but you your grief changes over time, and so now you can look back. And it took me a long time to sing those songs again. One of the song I sang to my father was "You Are My Sunshine." It took me 6 years before I could sing that song again.
Is that
6
right?
years, and it was a very healing process for me, and I sing it daily.
And
because it's a favorite.
See him with you every time you sing.
Very much so.
And feel him, I'm sure, as well. So talk about music therapy as a career. You mentioned earlier with infants and developmentally disabled, and even emotionally in prisons. I mean, there's so many places it is useful and used. And it is becoming as common in hospice situations and the aging process as their physical and occupational therapy, and even speech therapy. I mean, I think you work as part of a team, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. There are many instances, especially with traumatic brain injury, with stroke patients in rehab facilities, that music therapists work right hand in hand with the physical therapist, occupational therapist, and speech and language pathologist. And they do what's called neurologic music therapy. There are music therapists that are specifically trained with neurologic music therapy to help. For instance, Gabrielle Giffords, with her gunshot wound to her head, had a traumatic brain injury, and uses music therapy on a daily basis. And it helps them to remember how to speak again, and how to, and they use music for that. So someone who has difficulty talking, perhaps they learn to sing phrases. So they can sing happy birthday, but maybe they sing it to the tune of, I need to get a coffee, or I need to itch my nose, whatever I need to get dressed, those things that they need help with. How are you today? And they learn to sing it, and then eventually they can speak it.
Yes.
So that helps them a lot. Also with gait, someone who has a challenging gait, maybe because of a stroke. If you put a metronome on, metronomes are kind of boring, so we like to use music with a nice steady beat, a march. So a music therapist will be right there walking beside the person and the physical therapist, and that person will no longer have a limp, but a regular gait with the music. And we practice that so that they improve their physical function.
Wow. Interesting. So to become a music therapist, you have to, of course, be a musician of some sort.
Yes.
Either play an instrument or your voice could be your instrument.
Yep.
And then what? What are the programs like? Where are they?
There are over 70 programs in the United States. We have 2 here in Michigan at Eastern Michigan University and Western Michigan University. You would get a bachelor's in music therapy. You can also get a master's degree in music therapy or a PhD in music therapy. Once you get your degree, then you do a 6-month internship. It's about 1,000 hours in a setting, and you're under a board-certified music therapist.
Okay.
Once that's finished, then you sit for your boards.
Okay.
Just like anyone would, a nurse would sit for their boards, a social worker would sit. The music therapy, we have a national board where you become a board-certified music therapist.
Okay.
And we need to keep that certification up. So we need 100 credits every 5 years.
Okay.
So we are attending conferences. We have tons of research out there on music therapy all the time, and it's growing and growing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So
I can see it.
I think right now Michigan does not have a licensure of music therapy, but it is in the works. And I believe there are 35 states right now with task forces to make it a state license. New York State has a state licensed music therapy program.
So in other words, you're board certified, but you're not licensed by the state
because
of
they
Michigan.
don't require it.
Okay.
And we think that they should. We think it would be a good thing because right now you can go to places and there are hospices, there are nursing homes, and they say we have music therapy, but the person is not a board certified music therapist.
Okay.
They just go and they play music and they call themselves a music therapist, but they don't have the proper training. You have the music, of course, then you have all the psychology, you have all the science classes that we take, and all the specialties in the different forms of music therapy and why we do it. So having someone else come in and say, you know, I play the guitar for people, I can be a music therapist. The state licensure would assist us with that.
Okay.
So, but we do have the national board,
Okay.
which is very important. We've had that for years. But music therapy really came out of, it came from after World War II, where they would find that the vets coming home would heal out of the hospital faster when they had music, which was motivating. And so...
so music is very helpful, but unless it's from a board-certified music therapist, it may not be as focused and...
Yes, you're going to have much more specific goals with that. Having music on your own is always going to be helpful. And having any music anywhere you are is going to be helpful for you, as long as it's the right kind.
So
I think that's the other thing. If you play music that you don't like, it can actually be detrimental. If you know, there's so many times I go into a nursing facility and there's music playing from our generation and not from the residents' generation, and that can make someone more agitated. It can make them eat less. It can make them sleep worse. It could make them difficult with care, especially our dementia patients.
Right.
If they were to change that music to music from when they were growing up, you would see a big change in how they act.
Sometimes it's as simple as that. Pamela, you have just been wonderful. I am so pleased and honored to have had you on our show. We have come to the end. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll hear more from Pamela in weeks and months to come. Thank you.